Welcome to my channel, welcome to Astroterrat, and I am appreciated to present this person. This person is Bray Falls, sorry.
Nice to meet you all.
But if you think that this channel is in English, no, it's in Spanish. But now I'm talking in English for he.
He's doing good.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for visiting my channel. I'm Astroterrat. This is a little channel compared with you, with Bray Falls. It's a fantastic channel. I'm subscribed in your channel. And my first question is, let's start with the general view of astrophotography today. How do you see the state of amateur astrophotography on a global scale?
On a global scale?
Yeah.
Interesting question. I think that on a global scale, especially in the last couple of years due to COVID, I think it blew up, like the number of people doing amateur astrophotography probably like tripled or quadrupled or something. I think there's a big trend towards making things easier to use for a newcomer, like more smart telescopes, harmonic mounts, all stuff that's like lightweight and easy to use.
And little devices like a CA. And
yeah, it's got, the barrier to entry has gotten a lot better for the amateur. It's not as complicated as it used to be. So I think that's really good. I like it being more simple because I think there's too many barriers to get into astronomy. So yeah, I think that's the general trend.
Okay, thanks. Do you think the access to astrophotography has improved in recent years? If so, what factors have contributed to it?
Yeah, so I think the access has definitely gotten better, and most of it is probably the price of gear. CCD cameras used to be very expensive, same with mounts. I mean, it's still very expensive, but I think it's gotten a fair amount cheaper. And with the advent of smart telescopes and stuff, you can actually kind of get into, longer exposure astrophotography for only like $600. So it's not like the highest quality astro, but it's a lot easier to get into than it used to be, I think. Like the very beginner has a cheaper way to start out. Back when I started, you had to get like a DSLR and a star tracker and all that kind of stuff, and that still is a good way to get into it, but it's easier to get straight into deep sky now than it was before.
Now we're going to the second section, light pollution and remote telescope hosting. Okay, the first question is, light pollution is a growing concern worldwide. Do you think astrophotography is becoming harder for beginners?
Yeah, with the amount of light pollution growing, I would say it depends on where you're born. Yeah, it's probably like very location specific about how hard it is. Like on the west coast of the US, it's not really that big of an issue if you're starting out, but on the east coast, yeah, it could be like a gigantic problem. But yeah, I suppose it's still probably getting easier for newcomers to start and not harder as a direct result of light pollution. But I can definitely see how places are getting ruined that used to be dark are getting a lot brighter now.
Yeah. In recent years, telescope hosting services have gained popularity. Do you see them as the future of astrophotography?
Yeah, probably. It's very difficult to do good astrophotography in the city, and most people live in cities, so it's kind of like antithetical to being able to do astrophotography well. Like if you're in an apartment and you don't have a backyard, you don't even have a place to set up, not to mention you may be in a light polluted city or you might not even have a car. So there's a lot of barriers to actually being able to do the thing you want to do. And it kind of sucks not being able to be next to your telescope, but the alternative is to not do any astrophotography at all. So I'd rather have a remote telescope than not have a telescope at all. But yeah, I definitely see it growing.
Okay.
Yeah, especially as it gets cheaper.
Next step is in Australia. It's in the southern skies. It's other skies.
Yeah, it's inevitable. Yeah.
I have a Takahashi Epsilon, and I want to travel to remote hosting in the southern skies. I think in the future.
Yes.
Yes. Well, what are the main advantages and disadvantages of remote telescopes hosting compared to traditional backyard astrophotography?
So the only disadvantage, I think, is that you kind of don't get to be right next to your telescope, which is some of the fun for a lot of people. It kind of depends on what you get out of astrophotography. Like if you like editing good data, or you like going after weird targets, or any other part of the hobby, that then being next to your scope, then remote observing is better in basically every way. Yeah, I mean, it's like what the professional astronomers do with their giant telescopes, because there's no substitute for more time under dark skies, and there's no way around it than moving your telescope somewhere that's better.
AI is becoming a bigger part of image processing. What are your thoughts on this trend?
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah?
In general, yeah, like I use it a lot in my image processing. I remember when StarNet came out a while back, it made editing way easier. We used to have to do like the star mask and the morphological erosion function.
It's magical.
Yeah.
Star Terminator.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great thing as long as it's not generative AI, like making up a new nebula or something. I think it's great.
Some say AI enhances astrophotography, while others fear it might take away some of the craftsmanship. What's your perspective?
I think that maybe in some ways, like any tool can be misused or like taken to an extreme. I think people should still do like their due diligence with capture, like getting as many hours as possible for a good photo, and then it's kind of a helpful tool and not like trying to put a band-aid over a big wound or trying to like polish something up. Yeah, it all depends on how you use it. I mean, we've all seen bad images where like AI noise reduction is taken away all of the aesthetics, but there's some cases where it can be a good thing. It all just depends on how someone uses it. And people have been abusing tools for as long as they've existed, like ACDNRing an image too hard or something like that. It's inevitable that someone's gonna.
Well, how do you see AI evolving in astrophotography over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that there's probably a lot of low-hanging fruit that could be AI'd away, like the calibration process with like flats, darks, bias. I would like to see, something that just got rid of the need to do that entirely. I think that's the one at the top of my mind. Gradient correction.
A complex sister with other.
Yeah.
You are known for using wide field O3 filter for astrophotography to search for unknown nebulosities. What draws you to this type of work?
I got interested in it because I was looking for new things to take photos of that other people hadn't before. And I didn't know it was really possible until I followed Marcel Drexler and befriended him and kind of learned what he was doing. I got super inspired to go try it myself. And then they discovered the O3 arc around Andromeda, and I had an idea like, if there's one right next to Andromeda, then they need to be all over the sky because it's too big of a coincidence for there not to be any more of them. And so after that, I started searching just so I could find cool new things to photograph that haven't been seen before. But it's mostly like a creative inspiration because I like editing that kind of stuff.
And once you detect a potential new nebulosity, how do you verify its discovery? And what steps do you take to ensure it hasn't been cataloged before?
Yeah, so the first thing we do is we plate solve it, and then we go cross-reference a bunch of databases, like the CDS, Strasbourg database, the HASH, it's a planetary nebula database, PNNet, another new amateur planetary nebula discovery database. There's some databases for supernova remnants, but you basically do a coordinate search through all of those and you double check, and if nothing shows up, then that's a good sign. Then typically I also go to Astrobin, I see if anyone's taken any photos in the area, if I can see maybe someone knows about it and it hasn't been registered anywhere. And then lastly, I just kind of message everyone else that I know who's looking for objects, and I'm like, have you guys seen this before? Are you working on it? And then if they all say, no, I've never seen that, then I know. Wow. It's verifiably new, yeah.
What does it mean to discover such faint and delicate nebulosities? How does it benefit the scientific and astronomical community? Do these discoveries have a future in future studies?
That's a good question. I don't really know so much what impact it'll have scientifically. I think probably the most relevant thing so far is the amount of supernova remnants we've found. We've put together a paper with me, Jan Sainty, Marcel Drexler, and Xavier Strautner of a bunch of the supernova remnants we've found. And I think there's like a broad mystery about why there aren't more supernova remnants that have been seen in our galaxy, and astronomers are kind of wondering, where are all the supernova remnants? So I think that's probably the most relevant thing we've kind of done scientifically, is just to kind of show where a bunch of them were hiding. But the other nebulas, like planetary nebulas or hot subdwarf nebulas, I'm not sure what the value will be, or if there is any.
Wow. Bray, thanks very much for my interview. I think that it's fantastic for your answers, and I think it's very, very interesting. Before we finish, is there any advice you'd like to give to aspiring astrophotographers?
I would say stay dedicated. It takes a lot of work. Get to as much dark and clear skies as you can. There's a lot of losing battles in astrophotography, like trying to shoot from light pollution. So I would say, yeah, just try to get out under dark skies as much as possible. And yeah, space will always be there. So if there's a cloudy night or light pollution, then be patient, because you'll always have a chance to go back and shoot it at some point.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching this video. I'm appreciated to present Bray Falls. Was fantastic interview, but my English is not perfect. But if you want to upload this kind of video in this language, please comment below this video, and big like for this content. Thank you very much, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Clear skies, friends. See you later. Bye.